That kind of change result is no restart.
Big move in Bitcoin then, in contrast to all the notes I wrote pre-show, which were telling me that this was going to put Bitcoin under pressure.
The narrative that perhaps this launch of these political meme coins will sap flows from Bitcoin is showing us that it's really not the case this morning. If anything, it's just accelerated the momentum and the excitement around cryptocurrency under another Trump administration.
Hi, Dewald. What is all this FOMO about? Should I buy Bitcoin now?
Are you smoking your socks? You should rather watch my show. You should rather watch my show.
All right, legends. Hope you're all having a fantastic day. What difficult price action here from the price of Bitcoin today. Absolute nightmare trying to figure out the structure, but I think I nailed it. Okay, for the pro members watching the live stream here at the moment, I think I made a small little mistake on the counts to the upside, but I think I figured it out. So can we still expect lower prices here for the price of Bitcoin? Well, definitely there's a possibility. I've done some counting. I mean, guys, I just have to be honest, this is not an easy structure to count from an Elliott wave perspective, right? And then when we reject it over here, regardless from an Elliott wave perspective, what I told the legends, keep an eye on resistance. If we do not know what is happening here from an Elliott wave perspective, you go back to basics. It's as simple as that, right? And basics tells me if I zoom in here to the chart and I switch on my support and resistances, well, we got rejected at resistance. Beautiful rejection at resistance, swing failure from the high, and that is where we got the rejection. So definitely an area to pay attention. Also, when I take a fib from the high to the low, 0.88 is where we got the rejection. And when I did the counts together inside of the Legends Pro community, okay, when I did the counts inside here, I was like, how on earth can we reject here and still come down to at least maybe $105,000? Is there a chance that we can reject here and at least come and scoop up some liquidity by $105,000? Right, legends, I have checked the liquidity heat map over there, right? Just purely from a liquidity perspective, you can see, well, we have grabbed most of the liquidity to the upside. And this is something that I was watching. We grabbed all of the liquidity to the upside, and now there's a liquidity pool around about $105,000. Right, so can price find downwards momentum to that area? We will go and analyze the structure in a moment. Also, something very important that I want to talk about today is that, is there a chance for the low to be in? That is the big question, right, legends? Because I do see some technical analysts talking about this being the low. And I want to just briefly discuss the probabilities of this being the low, which I've already shared with the Legends Pro community. And also inside of our free Discord, I have also shown the scenario where the low could be in on the free Discord. But I've also explained what is the potential mistakes, okay, for lack of a better word. Right, legends, remember to smash up that like button. In all honesty, I was not planning to do a live stream today. I was busy with so many other things. And then I realized Andy said yesterday in his live stream that he's traveling today and he might not be able to do a live stream. And I was like, no, I cannot leave the community hanging. I need to do a live stream. I need to do an update. People want to know what's going on. People want some education. Okay, so yeah, I am. Right, yeah, I am. Let me just put my sexy face back here on the other side so I can watch you in the eyes, right, while we talking to each other. And let me say hi to the community while people are streaming in. Mr. Stefan 1, most probably one of the biggest fans here on the channel. Welcome to the live stream. Appreciate you being here. Took a small break from charting to focus on yachting. Ooh, but I'm back. Mr. Olivier, right, you need to invite me. You need to invite me. I would love to join you on a yacht with a nice little cocktail. Right, that would be absolutely wonderful. Hello, legends. Hello, Dewald. Welcome to the live stream. Read, hi, Dewald. Welcome, Jack the Legend. Yes, it's Jack here. Jack the Legend is here in the live stream. Stefan 1, this man is very entertaining. I love the TA because of you, Mr. Dewald. Guys, I mean, I am absolutely addicted to TA, right? And you know, last night, was it last night? Sometime this week, I actually thought to myself, you reach a point in trading where it's not about the money anymore. It's about the technical analysis. It's about putting the pieces of the puzzle together. That is more exciting to me than winning a trade. I can tell you guys now, it's way more exciting for me to win, to put the pieces of the puzzle together and see how the probabilities play out. Like if I highlight the low probability scenario, I'm like, damn, it got invalidated. I knew it, right? You get excited. If you highlight a high probable scenario, you're like, damn, played out to perfection. I knew it, right? That is the exciting thing about a chart. And I mean, people that don't do trading, okay, they will think we are a bunch of crazy clowns watching the candles to the down and to the upside, to the down and to the upside, and say, well, how on earth do you make sense of this? I can tell you now, this is addictive, right? This is really addictive. Okay, so legends, we're currently getting the dip here to the downside. What I want to do before I dive into the smaller time frame, or before I dive into the larger time frame, I want to discuss this structure. Okay, there was a couple of scenarios that I highlighted to the Legends Pro community, and I just want to go through that again. Okay, right, so, I mean, Legends, we did hit resistance. The first area of resistance, I did highlight to the pro members. This is the first area of resistance this morning. And then I also highlighted technically this is the best area for a short. From a technical perspective, this is the best area for a short. There's a lot going on at that level. There's a lot of Fibonacci levels that are lying there. It's the value area high of the entire range. It is taking the liquidity above the high. There's a lot going on there. So technically, this is the best area for a rejection. But, you know, you need to pay attention, because sometimes when the planets align at a certain level, the market loves to front run that level. But it's not to say that we can't get there still, okay? Maybe you get a little bit of a retracement and you go back up, right? Definitely a possibility. Right, legends, let's go and focus on this little structure here. And again, from an education perspective, these boxes that I have on my chart, I cannot express enough how powerful they are. Okay, if I go here onto the 1 hour time frame, again guys, for those of you that's seen it, maybe you need to see it again, because I know often, you know, you need to say something again and again and again, and then the pennies, like, it starts dropping into place. If you look at this entire consolidation area that we have formed, okay, since, what was this date, the 8th of May, this entire consolidation area, you go and you switch on your VRVP, okay, your VRVP, what's it called? I think it's called Visible Range Volume Profile, Okay, go search for that under indicators. If you don't have it, visible range volume profile, there's the name. You switch on your VRVP. Okay, and you go and look at those little high volume nodes. Do you guys see these high volume nodes? Like sticking out like little sore thumbs. High volume node, there's one. Okay, there's a big one, and then the red line is the point of control, which means during this entire range, this is where the most amount of volume was traded. Okay, but can you see that my resistance and support boxes align with those levels? Can you guys see this? Look at that, right? Where did we get the rejection? Okay, next area to the upside, next area to the upside. Okay, also from a support perspective, I also align it with these little boxes. Guess where we made the low? Okay, guess where we made the low? Right, guys, these volume profiles, or the VRVP, is an excellent way for you to identify resistance and supports if you don't know how to do it from a price action perspective. It does take a little bit more practice to do it from a price action perspective, but the VRVP is a very handy tool if you don't know how to do it. You just align your resistance and supports with those high volume nodes and you sort it. Right, this is also something that I cover in the course. But you guys are my community. I don't mind giving this information away for free. Right, but I do go into a little bit more detail inside of the course. Okay, right, legends, let's go and analyze this little structure that we have formed here to the upside. Okay, let's go on to the 15-minute time frame. Remember to smash up that like button if you haven't done so already. And let's look at this structure. Okay, I will go through some comments in a moment, but there's a chance, as per yesterday's live stream, where we discussed the structure. Well, what if this is a 1, 2, 3, 4? Okay, that's the mistake, guys. That's the mistake. Okay, 4 is not there. Okay, 4 is, guess what, over there, right? Because this now makes the structure balance. Well, we'll see. We'll see. 4, 5. Okay, so there's a chance that the high is potentially in for now. Slight chance, right? But quite frankly, I don't care if that's a high or not the high, because I know exactly where to short, I know how to enter, and I know how to protect my position. So if I entered a short, yeah, at the 0.88, I just want to get that for back here. Okay, so just to explain to everyone, guys, and I love to shower people with education. If I entered a short at the 0.88, okay, and I know crypto big brains, if you are here on the stream, you love to do this as well, because it doesn't matter if you're wrong. Okay, it really doesn't matter. But if you entered a short in this zone over here and you had your stop above the highs and price starts moving in your favor, guess what? I can now have a protected position. It's a free trade, so I don't care if I get stopped out. I don't care if my analysis is wrong. I got in at the right level with good risk management, and I now have a free trade. Okay, the most important thing you now need to figure out is where to take profits, because this trade can turn against you, stop you out at break even. Luckily, you don't lose any cash, but do you know where to take profits? Okay, right, legends, so let's get back into the structure. Let me just switch this off so I have it and I can switch it back on. Let me make these numbers a little bit bigger so everyone can see. Right, let's make them primary. There we go. Okay, this is the structure that could potentially be finished. Okay, right. This little fifth wave screwed me around this morning. But just before I started the live stream, I was like, hang on a second. If I change it ever so slightly, then it makes sense. Okay, because it was this choppiness that really created confusion. Okay, it was this little structure, very choppy, overlappy, doesn't make sense, no impulsive structures. And then I shared this with the Legends Pro community, guys. And remember, if you want to be part of the Legends Pro community, okay, where we have loads of conversation, here is the link down in the description. Right, there's the link down in the description if you want to join our Legends Pro community. So what is more important? This little 1, 2 is easy, guys. Very easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Beautiful 5-wave structure. Beautiful 3-wave corrective structure. It doesn't get easier than this. Yesterday during the stream, we said, well, okay, if this is an A, B, C, you should not take the high. If we do take the high, then the structure becomes very interesting, because then there is potentially a chance that the low is in. Okay, and I'll get to that on the larger time frames. Right, okay, cool. Legends, now, it was this structure here to the upside. Okay, let's zoom in onto this structure. This is what I was trying to figure out this morning with the Legends Pro community. Okay. Once I figured it out, the fib levels just made perfect sense. Look at that. Rejection at the 1.382. Okay. You got a reaction at the 1.236. Right, there was no reaction at the 1-to-1 extension, but look at the 786. Look at the 618. Each fib level got so well respected, and eventually it got rejected by the 1.382. So let me explain, guys. And for the pro members that's here, okay, here's the mistake that I figured out. But sometimes, you know, I don't always get it right, guys. I don't always get it right? Okay, is my fourth wave was over here, because I was counting this structure as an A, B, C. Done. This is the fourth wave. And whatever is happening over here, okay, I worked out as follows. So the mistake I made is my one started, okay, this one over here started from over there. It should actually start from over here. So the mistake that I realized is this is a W, X, Y, and this is the low of the correction. If I count the first wave from this low, then this high makes sense. Okay, because in a contracting diagonal, remember, your third wave is not allowed to be the shortest. And this was the problem, because if I take a trend-based fib, guys, and I'm specifically going through this from an education perspective, if I take a fib from this low to the high of 1, okay, and I now want to measure how long is the third wave. Okay, I just have to turn this around. Right, let's do that. Okay, and I put it at the bottom of 2. Then I can see, okay, well, the third wave was shorter. Okay, if I measure the wave 1 like this, you can see that the third wave is shorter than the first wave. It's not a 1-to-1 extension, which means your third wave is shorter, which is fine. It just means that your fifth wave has to now be shorter than your third wave. Okay, so beautiful, right? Let's carry on. So what I then did is to say, now I take my trend-based fib and I measure the length of the third wave, and I put it at the bottom of 4. And this is basically the trend-based fib that I had. And I told the legends, if we tap the 1-to-1 extension, I think the scenario is going to be invalidated, because your fifth wave is not allowed to be the longest. Okay, because now your third wave is the shortest. That's the mistake I made. Right, but then, a simple little fix, right, guys? A simple little fix. If I count this as a W, okay, A, B, C in a W, X, and then you have a 3-wave structure in a Y, and I start the first wave from here, it makes perfect sense. The structure balances. So basically what happened over here is your fifth wave ended in an ending diagonal, which has to have 3-wave structures inside of it. That makes sense because you have a 3-wave structure in a 1. You have a 3-wave corrective structure. You have a 3-wave third wave, 3-wave in the fourth wave, and then you have a double zigzag, okay, in your fifth wave, which makes perfect sense. And in this scenario, okay, I'm not going to go through all the steps, but if I move my 1 to over here, the third wave is not the shortest, which means that your fifth wave can overextend and break the triangle. Okay, luckily, okay, for the pro members that did pay attention, I did say that the fifth waves loves, okay, or doesn't love, it is allowed to break out of the pennant. The fifth wave is allowed to break out. As soon as it gets acceptance back inside of the trend, that is a sign of weakness, and your top is potentially in. So that rule at least played out, okay? Right, but also, you know, from a resistance and support perspective, you got the rejection at the 0.88. There was a high volume node. Pay attention, okay? Definitely an area to pay attention. So what I was then trying to figure out here is that I took a trend-based FIP, okay? This one over here is basically from the low of 182 to the high to the low, okay? Because I'm measuring this wave based on this third wave. And this fifth wave is basically 138%. Yes, 138% longer than your third wave, but your third wave is not the shortest. Your first wave is the shortest. So now it balances. So we all learn together, right, legends? That's how we learn. Okay. Anyway, so legends, what I'm trying to point out over here, there is definitely a chance, okay? There's a chance that the fifth wave is done for now. The question is, how deep is the correction going to go, right? And regardless, guys, so let's throw Elliott wave theory out the window, because I'm also seeing some massive bullish CVD. Absolutely insane bullish CVD building up here, but it can very quickly get invalidated with bearish CVD. We'll see now, right? We'll see. Just want to see some. We already have local bearish CVD, and this is often something that confuses a lot of people. Okay, so let's take a look at CVD over here. So you can see from this pivot, okay, massive bullish CVD on blue, bullish CVD on yellow, and do we have bullish CVD on white against that pivot? No, but we do have it against that pivot, right? We do have bullish CVD. So a lot of people will say, well, this is extremely bullish, we're going to take the high again. It's a possibility based on the bullish CVD, but if I go into the local bullish CVD, let's go into the 3-minute time frame, and I zoom into this structure. Okay, this is often how the market confuses, is local CVD always takes priority over larger time frame CVD. Okay, so what's happening here more locally is far more interesting to me than the bullish CVD that I've just pointed out. So let's see over here. Okay, so against this pivot, do we have bearish CVD on blue? No, we don't. Do we have on yellow? Almost on yellow. Okay, so against this pivot, we did have bullish CVD, it got invalidated. Now I want to see against the next high. Okay, so we don't have bearish CVD against this pivot just as yet. But this is now where I'm paying attention, because just want to take the pen out the way. Okay, so that's the pivot. Almost on yellow, we almost have bearish CVD against this pivot, almost. So if price is going to climb a little bit higher, you could form bearish CVD on yellow, okay, which means the target is the low, and it can keep on doing that. So you're like, but there's bullish CVD on the 15-minute time frame, but the local CVD will always take priority. Also, something that you have to keep in mind is that when you look at this structure, remember guys, you get corrective structures that can take the high. Remember that. Right, so regardless of how I've counted it from an Elliott wave perspective, is you could have a corrective structure that takes that high. You could form an A, B, C. Okay, you can take that high again, and then your bullish CVD played out. And this is then a flat. Exactly what happened here. There's the top of your impulse. But look at what happened over there. You formed bullish CVD on the way down. You took the high, the bullish CVD played out, and then you fell back, and then you formed new bullish CVD against that pivot. So definitely a scenario that could still play out where you take the high. Right? The question is we just don't know how deep this initial wave is going to fall here to the downside. So it's important to pay attention to the local CVD. From a simplicity perspective, legends, okay, let's just keep it simple. From a simplicity perspective, if you have taken a trade from the 0.88, okay, your position should be protected. Hopefully you nailed it. Okay, if you have an entry that's a little bit lower down, at least de-risk yourself a little bit. Okay, because price could definitely backtest and fall back down again. Okay, and stop you out. So I will be looking for the sign of weakness, specifically from a CVD perspective. I want to see what CVD going to do as price pumps here slightly to the upside. Right, but from a resistance perspective, if I get stopped out, okay, if I had to get stopped out over here, well, then I'm going to be paying attention to that level. And maybe it falls down here, I take profits, and it goes to the next level. I'm going to be paying attention over here. But I'm also going to be paying attention for longs. It's not just about shorts, it's also about longs. Right. Cool, legends. For now, this is the structure that makes the most sense to me based on the data that I have available. Okay? The only structure that makes sense at the moment, and maybe the structure still needs to reveal itself, but based on the information, the data that I have available inside of this structure right now, as of today, 52 minutes past 5 here in South Africa, this is the structure that makes the most sense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is the structure that makes the most sense. If price continues here and it just smashes here to the upside, then maybe, okay, because price has to reveal itself, it has to show me the way. I have my resistances. I can still enter trades with good risk management. Okay, I can have free trades with protected positions. I don't care. But sometimes what do happen is, do you guys remember this structure? I just want to point this out. Okay, do you guys remember this little structure here to the upside? How confusing was this structure? It just pumped, consolidated, pumped, consolidated, pumped, consolidated, pumped. It didn't stop, right? And you were like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when we made this high, it was like, okay, well, this has to be it. And it went up again, okay? Right, and it turned out to be a double 1-2 combo. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5. But the structure only starts revealing itself when it's starting to come to an end. But I can successfully trade this structure because I can remember during the structure, there was many times where I was analyzing the correction after the impulse. And I said, guys, we're going to take the high again. We pumped up and we made this corrective structure. And I said, guys, we're moving up. We're going to take this high again. Okay, we're going to take this high again. So based on the corrective structure, I can determine whether it's impulsive to the downside or whether it's corrective to the downside. If it's corrective, it means you have a probability of taking out the high again. And so we just continued here to the upside. Right, cool. So now we are where we are. And what I can tell you guys now, based on the structure from this pivot, based on this structure, the probabilities are still higher to take out the high before we take out the low at $74,000. This is all still corrective. It's not impulsive to the downside. Okay, right, legends. Now, I see something floating around on social media. Well, at least my social media feed, okay? Some people are saying the low is in. So what I want to do here now at the moment, I love that structure, Dewald. This is not happening often. Right. So what I want to share with you guys over here is the pros and the cons. Okay. I'm going to be as neutral as possible. Right, legends. And just explain, well, is there a possibility for this to be the low? And we are indeed going to carry on the bull market here to the upside. Because even if this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what do you expect after a 5-wave impulse? A corrective structure and continuation to the upside, where this then becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, what do you expect after a 5-wave structure? A 3-wave corrective structure. Then you go up for another 3, 4, 5. So it can literally just go and go and go and go. That's the beauty about impulsive structures. They can literally just go, right? They pump. They have a 3-wave correction, they pump, they have a 3-wave correction, they pump, they have a 3-wave correction, and they just continue to the upside until we start going into a bear market again, right? And that's exactly what happened with this structure. And I know that this structure has left a lot of people behind. It has really left a lot of people behind. And there's a lot of people that's hoping for a deeper corrective structure, okay, so that they can buy at these levels again. And there is that chance that we're going to get a shallow retracement because every retracement over here did not even hit minimum FIP retracement targets. It just left people behind every single time. And I'm telling you guys now, this correction can also leave people behind because I know for a fact there's a lot of people that are taking their FIPs here from the low, okay, from the low to the high, and they are watching the 0.382. 0.382 has not been tapped. I'm going to wait. I'm telling you guys now, it does not have to get tapped. The 0.382 does not have to get tapped, because during each impulse here to the upside, the 0.382 was not tapped. From the low to the high, where's the 0.382? All the way here at the bottom. We did tap the 2.36, okay, which is a rare target, but a target nonetheless. We did tap the 2.36. If I take another fib here from the low to the high, okay, did not tap the 0.382, right? And so and that's why it left people behind. People were waiting for the minimum retracement so that they can start nibbling at a position, because often what a lot of traders will do is that they will recognize the impulse to the upside. They recognize, okay, this is a 5-wave structure. I'm going to start loading. And they have limit orders. And as price fills the limit orders, it gets the bounce back to the upside. Most people put their first limit orders by the 0.382 because it's considered a minimum retracement area. But in extreme bullish environments, okay, that's all you're going to get is the 236. So, right, legends, what I want to do over here now is just take the noise here out the way. Remember to smash up that like button if you haven't done so already. If the low is in, so let's now entertain this scenario. If this is the low, doesn't make sense from a timing perspective. That's what's very important to me. Because the pro members know exactly, oh God, we made a low before the 0.382. Okay, we must probably going to come down for another low. And true as Bob, we come down for another low. So from a timing perspective, if I take a time fib from the low of the structure to the high of the structure, does it make sense from a timing perspective? Yes. This low was made after the 0.382. And remember guys, in the stream, I said this is not the low. It's not the low. Okay, this is what I said. It's not the low, right? And look at what happened. We fell down again, and we made another low after the 0.382, right? Which is now way better. But I also have to highlight that a corrective structure can still extend. It literally can still extend. Okay, it can, right? I have seen long corrective structures, but at least this low was made in a zone where it's supposed to be made. Okay. Does Elliott wave theory support the low? Okay, so from a Fibonacci perspective, if I take a fib, okay, we're going to discuss the pros and the cons from the low to the high. So from a Fibonacci perspective, one could argue it did not hit a minimum target, but we can prove that each correction did also not meet a minimum target. Okay. At least the 0.3236 was tapped. Okay, so we can say, right, based on the structure that front run the 0.382 every single time, there's a chance that this is potentially the low. Now, from an Elliott wave perspective, now I need to look at the structure. So let's take the fib out the way. From a timing perspective, it makes sense. From a Fibonacci perspective, it would be nice to tap the 0.382, but at least the minimum target was tapped. So this is the scenario that I have at the moment. Okay, let's zoom into the structure, and I'm just going to show you guys the pros and the cons. Okay, there is a valid count that this is the low, where you have formed an ABC in a W, you have formed a shallow X wave, and you have formed an A, B, C in a Y. So can you guys see? You basically, let me do this, right? You have a 3-wave corrective structure. And from a symmetrical perspective, it actually looks quite in balance, right? You have this leg looks really nice to this leg. It balances, and then you have your connector wave in the middle, because that's how 3-wave structures work. You have your ABC, okay, you have your connector that connects your next leg, okay, and that is your beautiful 3-wave structure where the low could potentially be in. So it has to be said that this could be the low, based on a WXY. The problem with this structure is the following. If I take a fib from the high to the low of W and I drag it across, okay, here's your problem. Let me switch on the 0.7 as well. Okay, I can remove that one. From a probability perspective, okay, and it's just a probability, it's not an invalidation. If your X wave taps the 0.7, which it did, it even tapped the 0.88, which it did. So if your X wave retraces this deep, there's a probability that states that your Y wave is not allowed to claim W. It's not a hardcore rule. It's not an invalidation. It's just a game of probabilities. So a lot of Elliottician, and if you study the theory, it will say that if you have such a deep X wave, you should not have a Y that takes the low of W. But that's the only thing that impacts this probability. Okay? Otherwise, it makes sense. It makes sense what happened here to the downside. So that's the only thing that's wrong with this corrective structure, is that the X wave retraced too deep, which means that the Y wave should not have claimed the low of W. But it is still a valid structure. Okay, just have to put it out there. Right, a structure like I've discussed yesterday, okay, there's two more structures, guys, that's not been invalidated yet. And I'm just going to quickly go through them because I did spend a lot of time on it yesterday. Right, legends, is that is the one we discussed just now, is this one, right? It's still in play. Your B wave is still perfectly where it needs to be, but your B wave is exactly where it needs to be. But now, the structure for me is starting to lose probabilities. It's not invalidated from a Fibonacci perspective, but there's something, and I'll explain to you guys what I don't like about this structure. Okay, so the B wave is still perfectly fine where it is right now because it's still in flat territory. It hasn't overshot the targets just as yet. Okay, so you basically have formed exactly the same, an ABC and a W. It could also be a WXY, it doesn't really matter, it's a three-wave structure. And you have formed a triangle in your X. A, B, C, D, E, that stopped over here. And now this is A, and this is B, and we're going to go down for C that takes the low again. But now this is where the problem comes in. So from a Fibonacci perspective, it still makes sense. What do I mean by a Fibonacci perspective? Well, did this B overshoot its targets? No, it didn't, because you need to take a trend-based fib from the high of A. This is your A wave. You need to take it from the high of A, drag it to the bottom of A, pull it across, reverse it to the upside. Okay, still inside the B flat targets. Right, guys, so let me put a box there. Okay, these are all B flat targets, right up until the 0.9. There we go. That entire box, okay, is B flat territory. Right, so as long as the B does not tap the 1.618 and it rejects in this zone, it is a valid fib target. Now, here's the problem that I'm starting to see unravel, because as the structure develops, you know, you need to start giving other scenarios higher probability, okay? Is a B wave, this little B wave, has to be a three-wave structure. It's not allowed to be a five-wave structure. This is the problem. With this little local move that we have at the moment, okay, this is now the problemo, is that for now, this really looks like a five-wave structure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A B wave is not allowed to be a five-wave structure unless, okay, it comes down in a three-wave and it makes another 5 waves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it still rejects in this zone, because then you have a 3-wave structure in a 5, 3, 5. This is what we refer to as a 5, 3, 5. which is a 3-wave structure. So you have 5 waves in your initial wave. You have a 3-wave corrective structure. Okay. It's basically an ABC. Okay. But then you have a very short C, because you still need to form 5 waves inside of this structure. So not out of the woods just as yet, but I must say that it looks like this probability is starting to decrease. The probability for the scenario is starting to decrease because of what's happening here. Ideally, what you would have wanted to see is for the rejection, as per yesterday's live stream, not to take this high, because that to me would have been beautiful for the scenario to stay intact, because then you would have had an A, B, C here to the upside. A, B, C to the upside. Now that is a beautiful B, because it's a 3-wave structure. Now we did this. The price did this. Now I'm like, okay, well, it still has a chance if it makes a 3-wave corrective structure, another 5 waves to the upside without tapping the 1.618. Because this is the invalidation for the scenario. Right, but I must say the scenario is starting to carry ever so slightly lower probability. Okay, the only scenario that has all, dare I say, no mistakes. I can't find a mistake in this scenario. The only bullish / bearish case scenario is the one that I also spoke about yesterday, and it's this one. Because it's allowed to have 5 waves in that wave 1. You come down for the wave 2, you go back up for a 3, you complete the 4, and you complete your 5th wave here to the upside. So the price of Bitcoin is not out of the woods just as yet. So guys, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball where I can read the future. I don't know, right? But there's a chance that price forms a 5-wave structure here to the upside, hits $114,000, and it just absolutely tanks. And it claims the low again. Well, this low. It claims this low again. But we're not going to know, right? All I can do as a day trader is short resistance and take profits at support. Long support, take profits at resistance. From a spot bag perspective, these lows are always very interesting buying opportunities. Okay, and that is why I opened up swing trades on some of the altcoins. Because I knew that there's a number of ways in which this corrective structure could play out. I'm just going to start nibbling. Some of the altcoins just looks really, really good. Okay, because no one wants to buy. When I even say the word altcoin, people are like, oh, well, how dare you talk about altcoins? They are dead. Okay, well, I like it when people say altcoins are dead, because that's when I buy. Yes, that's what I want, Dewald. Love that scenario. You've been live for 40 minutes. Didn't come up on YouTube. No, I did, man. I got... Wait. Yeah, I got a notification. So I got a notification. Anyways, right, legends, let me go through some comments. Hear your thoughts, guys. Because there's a lot of people calling for this to be the low. And I'm saying, well, it has a chance. This definitely has a chance to be the low. And we're not going to do this. This is not going to happen. Right? This is the start of something great here to the upside. We have a 5-wave impulse at the moment here to the upside. Beautiful. That's how you want to start momentum to the upside. There's a chance that you're not going to reject in this zone. Okay? All we can do is trade level to level. And I know the pro members know, okay? You short resistance, you long support, you take profits at, you guys know the deal. So from a day trading perspective, I don't care. I absolutely don't care what's going to happen. From a spot perspective, from an investment perspective, yes, you want price to go up. Someone made a comment today in our Legends Pro community that really cracked me up, is to say that, well, Dewald, if the low is in, then what? And guys, I can tell you now, if the low is in, I'm not going to trade. For if this is the low and we are officially starting the bull market here to the upside, I don't have to trade. Okay, because my spot bags and my swing trades that I've got open is just going to ride the momentum to the upside. I don't have to trade anymore if this is the start of a massive impulse here to the upside. Right. Because I'm packed and ready, okay? From a altcoin perspective and from a spot perspective, I'm ready, okay? I didn't deploy as much as I wanted to, but I can still deploy into strength. Okay, but I don't have to trade anymore, so I'm going to take a break and just make popcorn every day and watch the price move up, right? If that is the end. Okay, cool, legends. Let me go through some more comments. Bullish CVD formed, maybe long. Let's see. Yeah. I also see slight bearish CVD. Okay, on yellow. It's not a double confirmation yet. Okay, I know everyone is watching the CVD. I know everyone is watching the CVD. Like, look at this pivot. Look at the higher low. Okay, and look at CVD absolutely tanking here to the downside. I know this is what everyone is watching. So there's a chance to claim the high again. Definitely a possibility. But if CVD has to all of a sudden, okay, start making bearish CVD as price is pumping here against one of these pivots, it could fall down again and claim the low. Right, and then you just zigzag here to the downside, invalidating the bullish CVD because the local CVD always overrides the larger time frame CVD. So let's see, guys. I just don't like on the smaller time frame that we have gotten acceptance back inside the trend or the pennant. That to me is a sign of weakness. But let's see how this plays out. Right, so here on the 5-minute time frame, I don't like this. I do not like this. It should have stayed above the trend and continue. And now it got acceptance back inside the pennant. So it's bouncing here on the bottom of the trend. So it's still respecting the trend. Okay, it's definitely still respecting the trend. This one over here. Right. And from a technical perspective, the trend is your friend until the very end. Okay, so every time you bounce into the trend, that's a longing opportunity, longing opportunity, longing opportunity. That's a long, definitely, I agree, that's a longing opportunity, because if you did jump into the trend, where it bounced on the trend, you can already have a protected position to the upside. Free trade. Right, CVD, don't panic. We will have to interim price. No, just okay. I was waiting for the 0.382 to get tapped in the recent dip for an SFP, but got front run so bad. Yes, Mr. Jack. Yes, but you know that was such a good level, right? That was really such a good level. Yeah, on the 1 hour time frame, Jack, is there was confluence at that zone. Okay. This was the Fibonacci level that I had. Okay, from the high to the low to this high over here, because that's your WXY that ended here in a triangle. You reverse it to the downside. Okay, and that's where we got the bounce at the 0.618. Guys, can you also see, if you do not know how to draw these fibs, because I know sometimes people are like, Dewald, which pivot do you even use? I don't know how you use your damn pivots. It doesn't matter, guys, because all you do is look at this. There was a high volume node right over there. And if I switch on my support and resistances, well, we bounced on support. Okay. Yes, my fib extension also perfectly aligns with these levels, and that's what gave me more confidence that we're going to get a bounce in that zone. Okay. But regardless of the fib, right, you have your support and your resistances. And you need to pay attention to these little levels, right? Because look at where we got the rejection today. At a high volume node. Next level, high volume node. Next level, high volume node. Where did we get this bounce? Well, you have a consolidation area that provides support. And together with that consolidation area, you also have a high volume node. So purely from a support and resistance perspective, you can have successful trades to the up and to the downside. They are powerful, guys. Support and resistance. You could literally just trade support and resistance. You short resistance, you take profits at support. You long support, you take profits at resistance. Obviously, that will differ depending on what time frame you're trading. Because on the 5-minute time frame, you might have, small little supports and resistances very close to each other. On the daily time frame, you're looking at larger supported resistances. So it just depends on your time horizon. Yes, but Mr. Jack, I agree. Very frustrating that we didn't tap that 0.382 because it was definitely a level that I was eyeing as well. 0.382, right? Which is basically at this level. 0.382. So it would be nice. Okay, can you guys imagine? Well, what if this is an A, B, C that then taps that level and then it bounces here to the upside? So it's definitely still a scenario that could play out. Okay. Right, what else? Is there a way to hit 109 to then go and take the low? 109 and then go and take the low. Let's see. 109. Okay, well, let me take the boxes here out the way. Let's put a line by 109. Okay, there's 109, basically over there, right? Is there a way to tap it? Yes. Okay, because you can still form a flat, right? Or the momentum just continues here to the upside, guys, and this whole scenario that I've spoken about is invalidated, okay? Because what if this is not a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that ended over here? What if this turns out to be a 1, 2, 1, 2, and this is all 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and it's just going to absolutely rocket here to the upside, okay? We just have to be open-minded to all scenarios. This is why I have those big resistance boxes to the upside, because when price hits those levels, I will make a trading decision, regardless of how I count the structure. Okay, but is there a scenario? Yes, there's definitely a scenario, because this could be, let's say, based on the price action we have now is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could make an A, B flat, C back to the downside. But I mean, it's a very short A. It's such a short A. You want a larger A, then a B, then a C, because from a timing perspective, you want this low to be made before the 0.382. Okay, if it continues, let it go. Let it go. The structure will reveal itself. So if I've done the count wrong, guys, over here, so let me put this on, because I'm not always right, guys. I do technical analysis based on the structure that I see in front of me right now. Okay, I cannot stress to you guys how important that is. I just want to take this fib out the way. Okay, based on the price action that I see right now, from this low to the high that we've made over here, this is the best count that I have. If price continues, okay, then maybe I will have a different count. But I can tell you guys now, I can still get into trades based on my support and my resistances until the structure starts revealing itself. But based on what I'm seeing right now, this to me is the count that I'm looking at. Okay, so ideally, based on this count, I don't want this high to be claimed just yet. I want the A wave to be a little bit longer. Okay, then a B, then a C. Because if this is the top, if this is the top, there's a problem. If you take a time fib from the low to the high, the corrective structure should, if this is the top, okay, we're speculating now. If this is the top, you want your correction to be done after the 0.382. It can't just be an A, B, C. Okay, we buy with everything that we have and we are just expecting higher levels. It doesn't make sense from a timing perspective. Right. Where will wave C go? Where will wave C go? Angie, which wave C? This wave C or on the larger time frame, wave C? Let me know in the comments, okay? Because this structure, I can explain both. On this structure, I need the A and the B to be finished in order to calculate where the C can go. But purely from a Fibonacci perspective, most commonly, if this is the high over here, Let me grab my box. Okay. Oh, I need to I need to update my FIP levels. Okay. Because I changed it when I discussed those scenarios. So let's switch this one off. 786. Done. Right. So this is your zone. So most commonly in a second wave, if this is now, okay, a wave 1. So you have now a wave 1. And now you're making a correction in a wave 2. And then you're going to go up for a 3 and a 4 and a 5 there to the upside. Okay. So most commonly in Elliott wave theory, your second wave retracement is between the 50% and the 786. That's the most common retracement target. It can tap the 0.382. I have seen second waves even tap a rare target, but ideally you at least want the 0.382 to be tapped, especially in a second wave. And maximum target should be the 786. As soon as you tap the 0.88, you then increase the probabilities of taking the low. It's all just a game of probabilities at the end of the day. So this is on the local structure. On the higher time frame structure, let me switch these things off. Okay, there we go. So on the higher time frame, if we are going to make a larger C wave to the upside in this scenario over here, let me do this. Where can you like to be? Yeah. So in this C wave scenario, if you create a flat, okay, if you create a B flat that takes the high, okay, let me just take this out the way. If you create a B flat that takes the high, right, most commonly 7 out of 10 times you create a C wave that takes the low of A, which is this low. So it doesn't have to take that low. Okay, so in a flat, you would at least expect the C wave to come and take this low. It does not have to take that low. Right, if you have a C wave that doesn't take the lows, maybe it ends over there, that's what we refer to as a running flat. They are rare. They happen about 3 or 2 out of 10 times, but they do happen. Okay. Right, so Angie, I've explained now both scenarios for you. Okay. Both scenarios, right. What about the CME gap at $92,000? CME gaps does not have to get filled, guys. Okay, if you want to trade CME gaps, go look at the S&P 500, the NASDAQ. Go look at the stock markets. There are very successful trading strategies designed around CME gaps in stock markets, not on crypto. I have not seen a successful trading strategy based on CME gaps. They do not have to get filled. Okay, a lot of people will say, but the CME gaps got full during this entire range because it's ranging. When price ranges and it goes ups and downs, and there's a CME gap over there and there's a CME gap over there, they're gonna get filled, right? Because price is ranging. But when price is trending and there's a CME gap there and maybe there's a CME gap over here, they do not have to get filled. Right, I honestly, personally, and this is my view, I think CME gaps is a bunch of BS. Especially on crypto, not in the stock market, because I have seen successful traders with trading strategies designed around CME gaps, and then when they try and apply it to crypto, they say it doesn't work. It invalidates it. Those CME gap trading strategies on stock markets does not work on Bitcoin. Right. Okay, thanks for the education. Thanks for answering. Absolute pleasure, Angie. I don't know why, Rad. I'm not harping on you by any stretch of the imagination, but I see people being obsessed about CME gaps in the crypto space. You know, yeah. I mean, there's a CME gap at $9,000. At $9,000, there's a CME gap. I can rip out the CME gap chart over here on Bitcoin, and I can show you guys all the CME gaps that have not been filled. Okay, I'm not going to do that right now. Maybe I'll do that for next live stream. CME gaps does not have to get filled, especially on crypto. Okay. Right, it's way better to focus on support and resistances, your volume profile, daily levels, weekly levels, your point of controls. These things, guys, are way more important. Have your support and resistances, have your daily levels, have your weekly levels marked out, your monthly levels, your point of controls. These things work way better. And very, very, very often, I have a level at that CME gap, and then my level gets tapped. I didn't even know about the CME gap, and I traded my level. Okay, so I just, yeah, anyways, I'm just gonna leave it for there. I'm just gonna leave it. Right, yes, 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2, bring it on, Mr. Crypto Big Brains. I know that you are in an epic long, right? I know that you are in an epic long. Okay, and we're currently still holding, interestingly, we are still holding this daily level. Okay, that's where we got the bounce. So we got the rejection. Okay, it looks scary, but we got the bounce at a daily level. Can you guys see how powerful these levels are, by the way? Right? We have some bullish CVD. I acknowledge the bullish CVD. It would be interesting to see if price is going to claim that high again. Would be very interesting. Okay. I mean, throwing Elliott wave theory out the way, okay, completely. Just trading support and resistances and Fibonacci levels, I have to say, ooh, nice point of control at the next level. Okay, I have to say that if you take a fib from the high to the low of the structure, okay, now there's probabilities playing out here as well. Because you have tapped the 0.88, you do increase the probabilities of taking that high. So there's a chance, Mr. Crypto Big Brains, there's a chance that it's going to, give us one more leg here to the upside, regardless of Elliott wave theory. Okay, there's a chance that it's going to give us one more leg here to the upside, but there's also a chance, okay, it's when you tap the 0.88, there's usually one or two things that play out. It either takes the high directly from where it is right here, okay, or it goes back to the 0.618. Imagine this, and then it takes the high, goes back to the 0.618. Also a possibility, because that I see play out often. If it doesn't take it directly, it likes to retrace, which has support, okay, and then it takes the high. Right. Those are basically all the scenarios. Okay, what else? Dewald, from monthly time frame in March till recent price based on structure, something tells me this is 1 2 1 2 combo. Oh, Stefan 1. Hey, man. Yeah, you are talking about scenarios that's going to chase all the subscribers away here, okay? I do have, guys, I have some insane bullish case scenarios, okay? Which I'm not sharing because people get upset with me when I share it, okay? Even here on the weekly time frame. Guys, I have scenarios where I don't even want to mention the prices, okay? Yeah, and in the bottom of my folders, I have a very interesting scenario, okay? And I need to put it on the log scale because this is how insane this price action gets here to the upside. I have extreme bullish case scenarios, okay? But I'm not talking about them because there's a lot that needs to happen before I can say, okay, it's in motion at the moment. So, Stefan 1, you are opening up a 1 2 1 2, okay? ABC WXY, they both retrace to the 0.382, 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 4 5. Whew. I mean, if this scenario had to play out, I do have these scenarios. I'm fully aware of these scenarios, but I'm not going to be that person that says this is the scenario. I would rather be conservative. Okay, because that's also a scenario, right? Because I see a lot of people are still talking about this scenario. What happened over here, okay? We made a top, right? Because a lot of people are talking about this. We made a top, we fell down, we basically made a double top. And then we started the bear market. And now people are looking at this structure saying, oh, same thing's going to happen, okay? 1 2 3 4 5, this is an A, this is a B, we create a double top, exactly what happened over here, and now we are going to go into a C wave, right? Basically start the bear market here to the downside. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Okay, because based on based on this corrective structure that is forming here, the probabilities are still high to take out the high. Right, so let's see how this plays out. I read an interesting article by someone that stated that you've only had a bull market once you've had an altcoin season. I'm not sure if that was in Andy's live stream where he read the article. Someone made that comment. A very, very well-respected technical analyst made the statement to say you did not have a bull market until you've had an altcoin season. And because we haven't had an altcoin season, we actually didn't have a bull market yet. And until such time that we do have an altcoin season, then we can say we've had a proper bull market. This to the upside, according to some analysts, is nothing. This is not a bull market. Okay. Right, I'm just saying what they are saying. Right, legends. I have shared, I'm not sure if you guys were in that stream where I've shared my bias. Okay. Right. 500k in 15 years. Who knows, right? Who knows? 500k is absolutely crazy, right? It is a scenario, but I'm not giving it the highest probability. The highest probable scenario, and I'm not scared to put my money where my mouth is. I don't know if I saved that scenario, but I can quickly draw it out for you guys over here. Okay, for me, the highest probable scenario is let me draw it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, guys, don't look at the targets. Let me just make them lower because people are now going to go and see, well, where did Dewald draw that? Don't look at the targets, look at the structure. Okay. Right. That is a scenario that I think has high probability. Okay, and I can go and work it out, right? So let me make this a different color so everyone can see what I'm doing over here. Right, so this to me is a high probable scenario where you have formed 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, and you have an extended fifth wave. Inside of your fifth wave, we have now formed 1, 2, and we are busy with the third wave. Go down for 4 and 5, and then the bull market ends. It's more conservative, okay, than the double 1-2 combo. Double 1-2 combo is crazy bullish, okay? It's gonna can easily go to $500,000. But from a conservative perspective, I think this is a likely scenario. Okay, I just want to drag it here to 200k. Let's just make it 200k. I think is a realistic target, right? There we go. Very realistic. Okay, also Dewald, you don't think Bitcoin might start moving like gold, so maybe 5% gains a year? It could, but I think the market cap is still too low. Okay, gold has, you have to remember, who asked the question now? Rad, you have to remember that commodities stocks that's been around for very long have such massive market caps that it takes immense amount of money to move the price. Okay, Bitcoin is still a baby, right? It doesn't take that much money to move it, so you could still get parabolic moves until it gets enough. The market cap grows to such an extent where it becomes more difficult to move it. Okay, institutions are only now buying Bitcoin for the first time. It's been made legal to trade, and the ETFs that's been approved. It's very, very young from a market cap perspective. Bitcoin is still very young compared to gold and some of the other stocks, right? And I mean, something interesting I wanted to show you guys here as well is, remember guys, to smash up the like button. Okay, also if you guys would like to come and trade with me, also your way to support the channel, Bluffin, I need to change this guy, it's 20% cash back. Okay, I need to change the 15%. I keep on forgetting to do it. 20% cash back on the money that you deposit in your futures account. You get back to trade with for free. And they also have the War of the Whales, okay, trading competition taking place in 19 hours from now. I am part of the team, right? I am part of the team. So by using this link down here, you will register to be part of my team, and we're going to trade and move some volume, because there's many prizes up for grabs. It's not just who makes the most profit, it's also who moves the most amount of volume. I do have I think a reasonable account in Bluffin. Okay, so I can move some volume. I did move some volume today, right? So here's where you can join the competition and we can share in a pool of prizes. Weeks also 20% cash back, 25% discount on your trading fees when you use the link down in the description. BTCC up to $10,000 up for grabs, a sign up bonus. And Femix, still guys, Femix, when you sign up, $150 free airdrop. I did make a tutorial, okay, go check out my YouTube channel. I did make a tutorial on Femix where I show you exactly how to use the exchange. Right, so also your way to support the channel. Okay, now something interesting I want to show everyone is, and this is also something that I talk about in my trading course. Okay, was it the S&P or was it the NASDAQ? I think it was the NASDAQ or the S&P. Anyways, let's go here onto, must I go to the monthly time frame? Let's see, 1 month. Okay, yes, this is the one. This is the one. Right, let me take all the noise here out the way. I want to show you guys this. Okay. People that tell me investment is a bunch of BS. Right, can you guys see I have the S&P 500 here. Okay, and let's just take this low that was formed on the 1st of May 1932. Okay. Can you guys see that since 1932, when this low was made, 1932, it doesn't matter where you bought. It doesn't matter if you bought every high. Maybe you were a stupid investor and you bought that high, and you bought that high, and you just bought the highs every single time. Guess what? You would still be in profits. Because since 1932, price just went up. And these are just little... Okay, and these are bear market, guys. These are real bear markets. Look at the bear market. Bear market. Bear market. But the trend is up since 1932. So, I mean, if you bought the S&P 500 at $4, right, it's now at $6,000. Okay, it doesn't matter if you bought the highs. You would still have a pretty good investment. Okay, because the trend is up. Just want to take all the brushes here out the way. So from an investment perspective, the point that I'm trying to make, it also doesn't matter where you buy Bitcoin from a spot perspective. If you are planning to invest in Bitcoin for the long term, 10, 20, 30 years, maybe you're still young, you can hold on to it for 40 years, the trend will always be up. Okay. Because you don't care about the bear markets, okay? The bear markets becomes buying opportunities where you load a little bit more, okay? Maybe you're lucky enough and you can spot the bear markets and you can sweep up the lows. But I just wanted to show an example of the S&P 500 is it doesn't matter where you buy or where you bought. If your entire investment is up, okay, unless you now for the first time bought this tippy top and then it drops you to the downside, then you're going to be underwater. But guess what? The trend will most probably continue here to the upside, Okay, so it's a matter of time. It's a matter of patience. And this little orange box that I have inside of the S&P 500, okay, and this is why I say, guys, it's never a bad time to start investing in Bitcoin for the long term. It's never a bad time, because I can tell you guys now, okay, people that bought over here, okay, they don't care, okay, whether they bought at $87,000 or $87 or whether they bought at $100. They are in profits at the moment, okay. If you look at Bitcoin 20 years from now and you look back, okay, you're not going to care about did you buy it at $107,000 or did you buy it at $98,000? Or did you buy it at $90,000 or did you buy it at no, because if Bitcoin is at $1 million or $2 million or $5 million, this, okay, is irrelevant, guys. Like this, I can show you guys now. It doesn't matter where you bought over here. It's irrelevant if Bitcoin is at $5 million in 20 years from now. Okay, it's irrelevant. Doesn't matter because everyone is trying to catch the lows, the lows. All I'm trying to say is from an investment perspective, it's always a good time to buy if you believe in the fundamentals and you believe it's going to withstand the test of time. Right, I feel like I'm hyping myself up here, and I want to play you guys this one over here.
Bitcoin is an ideology that spawned a protocol that created an asset that circulates on a network. The ideology is sovereignty, sound money, freedom and property rights, right? Dignity of the human spirit, ownership of your life force, economic sovereignty and immortality. That's the ideology of Bitcoin. And Satoshi gave us that.
Right, legends. So I guess all I'm trying to demonstrate it is that, guys, you have to wear a different hat from an investment perspective. Okay, let's just say this is going to play out. Okay, let's say Bitcoin, exactly like the S&P 500, is going to stay in the side of a parallel channel. I didn't draw it perfectly, but you guys get the point. What if it just does this? Right, but the momentum still carries on here to the upside. Okay, what if it just does that, right? You will always win when you have patience. And this is why they say investment is a patient game, because the one with patience always wins. Right, guys, look at the S&P 500 since 1932, okay? And now you can imagine Bitcoin, right? And you can even draw this parallel channel. I don't know how steep it needs to go, but maybe, you know, the parallel channel needs to look something like this. Okay, maybe it's a little steeper one that's going to form here to the upside, right? Maybe it's gonna absolutely, okay, here to the upside. But also, guys, the point that also another point that I was trying to make over here, just want to take these highlighters out the way. Where's that highlighter? Here we go. Right, this is where Bitcoin is. Okay, this is where Bitcoin started. This little orange box inside of the S&P 500, this is where Bitcoin started. This is the lifetime of Bitcoin. This is little Bitcoin key over here. Can you see how young Bitcoin is? Okay, Bitcoin is still very young. This is when you compare it and overlay it to the S&P 500, that is Bitcoin's lifetime. Okay, so it still has room for a lot of growth, and the interest has only begun. It's only begun, right? Okay, legends, that is basically my update here. I just want to see what's happening here on the 15-minute time frame. Let's see, are we forming bullish CVD against those two pivots? Nope, not yet. Let's see how this plays out. Okay, right, legends, thank you so much for joining the live stream. I have unfortunately run out of time. Have yourselves a great one. Remember to smash up the like button. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed for future notifications. Links for the best deals on the exchanges are down in the description. Don't forget. Remember to register for the Bluffin competition, guys. We need to trade together. I've got my swing positions open. I'm trading Bitcoin on there. We definitely, if we don't win the most P&L, we're definitely going to win volume, right? I'm going to swing some volume there on Bluffin. Okay, legends, have yourselves a great evening, afternoon, morning, from wherever you are, from around the world. Until the next one, cheers for now.